So interesting as well, I think maybe it's a cynic. And in this instance, it's not me being the cynic, it's me thinking of all of the cynical people that I
Yeah, yeah,
work with. And particularly this thing of not being in contact with your body. And you almost said it as though it was easy to
mm,
and then just tune into how your body feels.
mm,
And
mm,
I did an exercise. I do various things as a mindfulness practitioner with groups. So, for instance, the breathing in for 4 and out for 6, so lengthening the out
mm,
breath. You just mentioned the effect of that, and I'll do that with groups and say, "Did you notice anything?" And
mm,
there'll always be some people go, "No."
mm, yeah,
I did an exercise in mindful eating with it
mm,
recently, and I said, did that taste any different to how it would normally do? And obviously the answer's supposed to be it tasted better. I appreciated it. And I went, no.
yeah, no,
And it's almost like there is a cynical reluctance to admit to noticing anything. It's like, no, nothing happening here.
yeah, yeah,
See.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
a disconnection, isn't it?
yeah, so I think there's two questions in there.
Mm.
Is there a link between cynicism and disconnect, and what's that all about? And how if our cynic will let us, how do we connect?
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good question. And you're talking to an absolute cynic and somebody
Hey.
very disconnected from their body for a very long time until and I think that disconnection is often linked to those feelings feel too uncomfortable. I don't want to sit with that because that doesn't feel good. Um, we grew up in an era where emotions weren't talked about. You never thought about the sensations in your body. You just literally got on with it and you did everything up here. And I was a huge overthinker, didn't pay much attention to what was going on anywhere else. So I would have been one of those cynics. The power and the benefit I've seen when I can, and I am by no means any kind of expert on doing this. I still have those days where I'm just in my head and I don't feel into my body, but then I can feel the difference in how I feel. I know that when I can tune into my body, when I can literally just sit there, even for 3 minutes, even for 1 minute, and just put my hand on my heart and think about what's going on in my body, that feels better to me. Some days I can't do that because I tend to go very much into shutdown mode. We were talking about those stress responses. For me, it's not necessarily fight or flight, it's shutdown. So I easily go into shutdown if something happens that, brings up fear or lack of feeling of safety. I will shut down. And when you shut down, your brain can barely function. Never mind, think about I should be breathing or I should be sitting with my hand on my heart. So I absolutely get that. What I've learned in those situations that the tiniest thing can make a difference. For instance, when we're shut down, our vision tends to become very kind of, we don't see what's going on in our peripheral vision. We tend to become very kind of centered on ourselves. We're conserving energy. We are, we don't want to move off the couch because our body is going, I need to conserve all the energy I can. So there are very biological things happening to us. If you're able to literally lift your eyes and look around, look from side to side, straight away your brain gets a message of, oh, okay, that's a change. That is going to determine different things going on. If you can go from lying down to sitting up, that sends a message to your body. Okay, I'm not collapsed. I'm sitting up. That sends a different message, sorry, to your brain. I think I said body there. That sends a message to your brain. And straight away, your brain, your nervous system state begins to change. I'm not saying you're going to jump off the couch and have a whole lot of energy straight away, but immediately the state of your body changes. And we know that our thoughts and our feelings, the story in our head, is dependent on our nervous system state. It's not the other way around. We don't think our way to feeling safe. We feel our way to thinking and we create the story based on how we feel. So immediately you sit up, it's a case of, oh, maybe I can get up and go and make myself a meal. Maybe I can go and have a shower. Things have immediately changed in your body, which means the story in your head changes. And that for me has been the biggest learning. Um, I'm not going to be able to convince myself in my head that I should get up off the couch and I shouldn't be shut down. That is not going to happen because more often than not, your thoughts are racing at that time. But what I can do is if I change my posture, it becomes a little bit easier to think about it differently and a little bit easier to do things differently. And, as I say, it doesn't mean you're going to make a big leap, but it means you're just going to change things slightly. And that's all that you're really after. It's always that slow. I think we talked about society's expectations earlier, and society expects that we do things in these big, giant steps and we're just able to do them. That's not how our bodies work. Our body needs time to process and to relearn things and to make different connections, and it doesn't happen overnight. But through our body, we can send our brain messages of just enough safety to do something different.
So if we are an overthinker, and so I'm thinking about myself here.
Mm,
If I have a short meditation, for instance,
mm,
sometimes I can get into it and it's like, yeah, that was a really productive, in inverted commas, 2 minutes. And
mm,
I was in the zone. Sometimes it's almost like the practice has got me ready for my practice
mm,
because by the time I'm actually in the zone, it's
mm,
over. So
mm,
actually I need longer just to get into it. And so that's one comment. And the other thought is around um do we need to know that how it feels, or is it enough for our bodies to know? So if we do something, say the people who I explained to about lengthening the out breath,
mm,
they weren't half of the group were not aware that it made any difference,
mm,
but it will
mm.
have still made a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they carry on doing it, that will have an impact, even if they're not in touch with it yet.
Mm, mm, absolutely. I think we bring the thinking into it way too often. I think it's if it feels good in your body, it's doing you good. A baby doesn't know why it's being rocked or the benefits of it. All it knows is its body just knows that it feels safe. We if we feel into what our body wants, and sometimes we have such expectations of ourselves, or I should be doing this, or I have to do that, and I have to do it for this long. It's what feels good. And I
How do you know what feels good? I think that's
don't feel into your body. Yeah, I
yeah,
completely
because
get that. And
we're
sometimes,
told we're
yeah,
told what feels good. What feels good is a face mask and a glass of prosecco,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but maybe it's not. Or we've got this idea like um, I've had a couple of really nice chats with Joe from Happy Yoga, where
Uh-huh.
we've talked about maybe don't do yoga, maybe go to Zumba, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
And we can have this idea that certain practices around self-care will make you a better person.
yeah.
And you should do yoga, you should meditate, you
Mm.
should this, that, and the other. It's like, well, that might not be what
Mm.
everyone's body wants.
No, exactly. And it might not be what your body can do at this moment in time. If you've got trauma that's stored in your body, breathing really deeply can be very uncomfortable. It can be, when you hear a breath practice, oh, breathe right into your belly. Well, if you have got tight muscles and, something is sitting there on your chest, you've got a heavy feeling on your chest, breathing really deeply might feel really uncomfortable. So don't do it that deeply yet. Just breathe for what feels comfortable for you. Don't push it. And then as you become more aware of your body, as you feel it more, maybe you can breathe a little bit more deeply, and maybe that still feels good for you. But I think what I've learned is that for me, definitely, it's less about thinking about it and making a story around it than actually just trying to feel it. And I completely get, for many people who are traumatized, feeling into their body feels really unsafe. They don't, they've had experience of those feelings in their body that felt so awful that they avoid that. So to feel into their body doesn't feel safe at all. So can you take it in really, really small amounts? You don't have to feel into your trunk, maybe, because that's often a point where we store trauma. Could we just feel our hand? Could we just do that hand massage and feel what that feels like? Could we just feel our feet on the ground? Hands and feet are removed from our kind of central area, so that could feel a little bit safer. Could we just put our feet in the grass, bare feet in the grass, feel what that
Nice.
feels? Could we just feel our feet on a solid floor? If we sit in a chair, you know, can we just feel ourselves supported by the chair? Any of that is mindfulness. That is all being mindful of your body, feeling into your body, and that's a start. And I heard something which was really lovely called titration, with kind of going into various parts of your body. And the person I was doing the course with said, you know, could you think about your heart, or could you think about your breath going into your body, and literally just feel it for 2 seconds and move back to your hand, and then go back to your heart and just feel into it for another 2 seconds, and then go to your foot. So you're almost
I
going into
love that.
parts of your body that feel less safe, and you feel less comfortable with, and then you're bringing it back to something you can really, you're fine with touching and feeling and knowing where it is. And that titration just kind of helps build that tolerance almost. It's tolerance for those uncomfortable feelings. And I think, again, we all grew up where you kind of didn't want to feel angry and you didn't want to feel sad. You tried to get rid of those feelings. We now know that getting people to feel those feelings is the only way through them. You can't avoid them. You can't push them away because they're still there. So if we can help our young children to feel into their bodies and sit with it, even when it feels a bit uncomfortable, maybe by feeling the feeling, and then we do something with our hands and our feet, and then we go back to feel that feeling for another few seconds, and then we move away until it feels more comfortable to be with that feeling. I think a lot of mental health struggles are avoidance
Yeah.
of feeling our feelings, aren't they?
Yeah, avoidance either because we don't feel comfortable because we're told that they're not tolerable. I think
Yeah,
particularly ang you mentioned anger, that's for women.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
nice girls don't get angry.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so
They definitely don't show it.
yeah, so girls aren't allowed to be angry, boys aren't allowed to cry, and then we wonder
Yeah,
why we've got such a high suicide rate among men.
yeah, yeah,
And so much
absolutely.
anxiety in women. Because
Yeah,
I would say that I see a lot of anxious women who have a lot to be angry about.
yes, yes.
They won't let it out.
Uh, exactly. And then it comes out as nervousness and anxiety, but actually deep underneath that is a lot of deeper feelings. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
mindfulness is not about being all nice and passive. And, I've
Mhm.
got so much more bullshit since I've been practicing mindfulness because it's about letting
Yeah,
it be there,
yeah, yeah.
expressing it.